So to illustrate the first idea that I brought up here, that the materials and processes through which objects are made carry meaning in and of themselves, I'd like to take a quick look at this historical Japanese textile. Really, this textile, which I'm about to sort of unpack, is one that's really quite profound to me. It's much more profound than any object or installation I've ever made, and in a way, it's a personal ideal. As we examine this textile, though, I'd like to keep in mind the basic questions of how we see an object, or maybe I could say that as what we see when we look at an object. So here are some different categories for what we might be seeing when we look at this textile. The first thing that we see, because it's impossible to overlook and because we're trained to see these sorts of things, is we look at the imagery. There's a crane and two tortoises. There's a pine tree, bamboo, and plum branches and blossoms. And I'm going to come back to that imagery in a moment because on one level, they provide a surface level interpretation. And also out of context, they're a little meaningless. So I'd like to actually step one step further back and look at some of the basic formal elements of this textile. So first we have the rough dimensions and size. This is about 2 feet by 4 feet. It's color, as you can see. It's 2 shades of blue. And in the upper right-hand corner there's some white and red. And there's the line weight and quality. So note, you can see how the lines in the blue section are all very crisp and clean, while in the upper right-hand section they blur a little bit more with the red. And then there are the materials. This is cotton, dyed with indigo and madder. And finally, there's the process. This is a freehand paste resist and shibori resist on cloth that was hand spun and woven. So next we might see the function of this towel. This is a bath towel. And with a little research, we're able to start to see the symbolism, so I'd like to come back to that. The symbolism in the imagery, which is common to so many Japanese folk textiles. The tortoise and the crane, these are auspicious animals that are known for their longevity. The crane is said to live 1,000 years and the tortoise 10,000. There's the pine tree, the bamboo, and the plum blossoms. Shochikubai in Japanese is another group of auspicious motifs. As you all know, pine trees are evergreens. They're green even in the winter. Bamboo is very, very quick growing and extremely strong, but at the same time, it grows very tall, but it's very flexible. And plums are the first tree to blossom in the very early spring, often when it's quite cold and there may even still be snow. So all of these plants are symbols of strength and fortitude. But really this is culturally based imagery that leads into the next category of seeing, which is more of a material culture perspective. Material culture sort of looks at an object for what it can tell us about the culture and people who made it. So when and where is this from? Who made it and why? What was the object's purpose and how was it used? This textile was made in Izumo in current-day Shimane, Japan, for the birth of a grandchild. The maternal grandmother-to-be would spin and weave plain white cotton cloth that would be taken to her local dyers and transformed into a whole set of textiles to be presented to the new parents as soon as the baby was born. This gift set of indigo textiles included, among other things, hand-spun and woven diapers, a carrying cloth, as well as some version of this ubuyu yuage, which is a very symbolically loaded, as you've seen, yet functional towel intended to celebrate the birth of the baby by raising the occasion of the baby's first bath after birth, into a ceremonious event. Already we can see that this is no ordinary bath towel. So I kind of touched on the process of making the cloth, the care and attention that went into the maternal grandmother's spinning and weaving. This is not some off-the-rack material, but rather one that could be said to contain the grandmother's hopes and aspirations for her grandchildren. And I know that you could say, yeah, this is just some romantic projection by me from the 21st century. But as someone who grows her own materials, it's really impossible for me to imagine someone planting the cotton seeds, tending the plants in the field, harvesting, ginning, bowing, spinning, and weaving the cloth in the anticipation of the birth of a grandchild, and not weaving her hopes and aspirations for this new life into the material. I like to think of this aspect of process as intention, much like Haig's edible estates are different in intention from World War II victory gardens, even if very similar in process and outcome. There's one more category that's central to the discussion of this type of textile, and is always brought up in Japanese discussions of similar works, and that is material substance. And by this I don't mean to simply repeat the materials category above and say that it's indigo dyed cotton, as a museum label would tell us. Instead, in Japan, and actually elsewhere throughout the world, people are quick to point out that indigo is used for such textiles for its medicinal properties, it's antibacterial, as well as its strengthening properties. Indigo coats the fibers and thus protects and strengthens them, hence indigo's use in work clothes all throughout the world, including our own denim for jeans. These properties were believed to be transferred to the baby when the towel was rubbed against its skin. In the same way, the upper right-hand corner that's dyed with Japanese madder root and was intended solely for wiping the baby's face is not merely red for aesthetic reasons. The Japanese madder root used to dye this color was believed to have medicinal properties that protected against common eye ailments. In some examples of these towels, the corner for wiping the face is dyed a yellow color with turmeric root. Historically, turmeric was used as a medicine to strengthen stomach function. So if the baby were to grab hold of the corner and suck on it, no harm, and possibly some good would be done. So my point here is that colors like these from plants, not just indigo, but really color from any plant, like these colors you see here that I get from things growing around me up in Bloomington, are so much more than merely the wavelength of light they reflect. To me as an artist, they become a material, one that provides a framework through which I can view and experience the world. So the ideas that I've outlined here, that materials and process are really central to my own work, I'd like to talk about that a little bit next, sort of the whole indigo process that I go through. It's a very long process, so I'm going to condense it down here instead of dragging you through a whole year.